All right, another AMA for you guys. If you guys have left comments on the YouTube channel, we will get to them here. So I'm gonna answer your questions about pretty much anything. So whatever you wanna dive into, let me know. Let's get into it. All right, so this question is, are mercury levels in tuna dangerous? Well, the simple answer is yes, they are. But how much tuna are you really gonna need to eat to make that mercury dangerous? It's actually quite a lot. There was one study showing that you would need to eat about 2.5 pounds of tuna per week in order to hit mercury levels that are dangerous. So obviously I would try to be conservative there because, you know, who knows how they really did that study. Maybe that tuna had lower mercury levels than the stuff you're buying at, you know, Walmart or whatever you're doing. So you need to just make sure to eat, like, you know, I would just try to not eat tuna every single week. So it's not gonna be a problem for most people. I eat tuna. If I go get sushi, I will happily enjoy some tuna, not worried about mercury levels rising my body to a point of, you know, death or destruction or any type of serious inflammation. So not a big issue. The next question is, what are my thoughts on yerba mate? So yerba mate tea. I'm not against yerba mate. It's obviously going to have caffeine-like effects, and so you don't want to drink that in the evening, which, you know, I see a lot of people drinking these caffeine products in the evening. Not a good idea. But the big problem with most of the yerba mate teas, when you look at the back of that tea, is how much sugar they have in it. You're talking 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar in a lot of these drinks. If you get an unsweetened yerba mate and that's something that you enjoy, I think that's totally fine. The next question is, what are my thoughts on Dr Squatch, the soap? So I actually got sent Dr Squatch stuff because they heard me talking about it, and like, actually, these products that I'm holding right now are kind of garbage. I only did a video on their bar soap and their deodorant because they did have good ingredients. So Dr. Squatch, I would give like a B+ to or something like that. Their deodorants and bar soap seem like they have really good ingredients, but some of their other stuff doesn't seem like it has that great of ingredients. So overall, good brand, but look at the ingredients of the specific product before you buy it. The next question is, what do I think of cold showers? So I'm a huge fan of cold showers, but within context. There are some studies showing that cold exposure can limit muscle hypertrophy. So for some of these people doing cold exposure every single day, you've probably seen those people on TikTok, like getting into an ice bath every single day. There is some studies showing that that can limit your muscle hypertrophy. So if you're trying to gain muscle, it might not be the best thing for you to do big cold exposure every single day. I do cold showers multiple times per week. Some of those days per week, about 2 to 3 days out of the week, I'm doing like a long cold shower. It's like 3 to 4 minutes with the water on completely cold, and up here in NorCal in the winter, it does get very cold. I get to the point of almost shivering. Other days, I just do a cold water finish on my hair because it's really good for your skin and your hair and helps burn some brown fat, but it does raise your cortisol. So I'm not trying to raise my cortisol so high every single day. So cold showers, I'd say do them a few times per week. Don't do them every single day. Okay, so for this question, I consulted with Lance, who knows everything about hair. He's been cutting hair for years. He knows a lot about hair products. And so what we're talking about with, you know, minoxidil is this is gonna be a topical product that's gonna enhance vasodilation. And so what we see with a lot of people is it does work better in the beard versus the hair. So when you use it in your hair, a lot of times, if you stop using it, your hair will go back to kind of where it was. So it doesn't seem to be that effective overall. In terms of the other class of hair loss prevention, there's a lot of drugs you can take to inhibit your DHT production, which they say is associated with hair loss. I'm not a fan of that stuff at all. Honestly, I would rather go bald than have really low DHT levels because of just the quality of your life, your muscle gain, your immune function, your brain function. This is not something that we would want to inhibit. So I'd rather go bald than vastly inhibit my DHT. And also the studies linking DHT to male pattern baldness, well, there definitely is, you know, correlation evidence there, and there's probably some link. It is not so conclusive. There are plenty of people with high DHT who have a full head of hair. So I just think it's something that human beings deal with. Is some people go bald, and doesn't seem like we really know exactly what to do about that right now. So if you want to use some minoxidil, that's fine. If you want to use maybe some rosemary oil or stuff like that, that's fine. I would not take a drug to inhibit your DHT. That's just taking it a step too far. What you can look into is some of the topical DHT measures, you know, using stuff like saw palmetto topically, pumpkin seed oil topically, and that can inhibit DHT in the scalp, which there might be a benefit there, but if you use too much of that, it can get absorbed and you can have all the problems of DHT suppression. So it's really something that's sort of dicey. You might want to look into that if you're really dealing with hair loss. Lance, what do you think of in Istanbul and Turkey? They're doing hair transplants for people.
I would do that, yeah. $2,000. Just wait till you're like 30.
I don't think I'm going to deal with this issue, so I don't know how deeply I'm going to get into it. Like, I'm, 30 years old right now. My mom has a full set of hair. My dad had a full set of hair. The genetics there are looking decent. So If I deal with it, I'll look more into it. But yeah, don't inhibit your DHT just for your hair. Next question is, what are my thoughts on table salts? This is just sodium chloride, lab created salt. It's not really inherently like bad. I just don't like the flavor. It doesn't have as many trace minerals, first of all, so it is not as healthy as Himalayan pink salt or sea salt. I'm just not a fan of the taste of it, and when you use it for culinary purposes, like I like to salt my steaks before I cook them, it doesn't have the same effect. So I'm really not a big fan of it, just personal preference. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. Sometimes you'll see iodine added to salt because we had a bunch of thyroid issues and people thought, well, okay, if we just add an iodine to table salt, that might fix it. Not a big fan of that either. I mean, I get iodine through my diet, so not really a fan of that. And you don't really need mega doses of iodine, it turns out, to have good thyroid function. I have great thyroid function, as shown by my labs. So yeah, not a big fan of table salt. The next question is, why do so many of these farms feed their cows grain and they don't feed them grass? They're fed soy, corn, stuff like that. So why farms do that is simply because of money. You have faster turnover of the cows because they get extremely fat. It produces the type of steaks that a lot of people in the United States like. When you look at a lot of the grass-fed, grass-finished beef that I cook, it's that deeper red. There's actually less fat. So ideally, what you want to find is a grass-fed, grass-finished steak. That's going to be the best thing you can find for health. Now, a lot of the cows are pasture-raised. What does that mean? They're fed grass for a good portion of their life, and they're finished off on grain. I do still eat that meat, and that's oftentimes what you're going to find in your stores when you're looking at just grass-fed. If it doesn't say grass-finished, it's not fed grass the whole life. But some of the factory farms that we have here in the United States, I mean, they're barely feeding that cow any grass. They're just getting corn and soy, and as soon as they get so unhealthy that they're gonna die, they kill them, and that is the meat you're eating. It's just not great meat. So yeah, it's a big problem. As far as why they do it, it's about money. All right, the next question is it okay to eat a large meal, especially a large protein-heavy meal, right before bed? So we're getting into nutrient timing, meal timing. So there is evidence, basically your body is going to funnel blood to your digestive system and energy towards your digestive system, towards your gut, in order to digest food. Personally, you would not want to eat right before bed. There are some benefits to delaying, after you eat, waiting, 2 to 3 hours, some people say. But the simple reality, if you're watching this and you're trying to lift weights and gain muscle, is that's not always going to happen. What I like to say is if you eat a meal and you wait, about an hour before bed, you should be able to get into those stages of deep sleep and not have interrupted sleep, even with a big meal. But if you can, try to eat, an hour or two before bed. Okay, the next question is, how did I meet Lance? So Lance actually lives in my basement, and he runs Base Body Works. He has to work a lot with his hands, and I own 99.9% of Base Body Works. So that's how I met him. I needed a worker. He's strong. He moves a lot of stuff around here for us, you know what I mean? When we get pallets of stuff in, he moves it. He can squat 500 pounds. So that's how I met Lance. Basically, Craigslist said, need a strong worker. Okay, the next question is, what are my thoughts on fiber? So we hear fiber talked about by so many health experts that it is the main thing for health. You need fiber, you need fiber. And while I actually am a fan of fiber, I'm not one of these guys that's trying to eat a very low fiber diet. I eat sweet potatoes, I eat fruit, I eat, white rice, I eat some vegetables. Fiber can have benefits in the gut in terms of helping your body develop some beneficial bacteria, but we just got a little bit crazy with fiber and some of these studies on fiber. So many of these studies, I've referenced them in a previous podcast on grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. We will take an unhealthy population and we will give them a dose of fiber. And we'll say, wow, they had some benefits here. They were a bit healthier. Fiber is the answer. While fiber does have benefits, you do not need to be taking fiber supplements. You do not need to be adding flaxseed to your protein shakes to get in fiber. Just eat whole foods, eat a whole food-based diet, and you will get the adequate amount of fiber. You don't need to load up on it, and it actually can cause gut distress in many people, so be careful. Okay, so the next question is, what is the stuff around capsules and supplements? So there's basically 3 forms of supplements. There's vegetable cellulose, there's gelatin, and then there's pressed tablets. Pressed tablets are one I like to avoid because this exposes the supplement to a lot of heat in the manufacturing process. So they take, supplement, a powder, and they expose it to a lot of heat and other times like binding agents and stuff like that, and that makes it into like that pressed tablet form, which I'm really not a big fan of. You'll see magnesium stearate in there. You'll see silicone dioxide. The other tablets are gelatin. Gelatin's a totally good option, but a lot of them use pig gelatin, which I'm not really a fan of. If it's beef gelatin capsule, I think that's totally valid. And then the best option, in my opinion, is vegetable cellulose. And you would think, Brendan, but the beef gelatin would be the best option. It might not actually be, because it's not really rich in any collagen or any gelatin of any sort of substantial amount. So the vegetable cellulose is extremely thin and easy to digest. Your body just chews right through that. I've seen some kids, I mean, they're probably young kids commenting this if they just don't know, say, is it made out of plastic? No, I've never heard of a supplement using the outer hull of plastic. I actually wouldn't be surprised at this point of some supplement brands doing that, but we use vegetable cellulose, and in a few of our capsules we have gelatin. That is what you use. Your body just chews through that right away. It's very easily digestible. It's an extremely thin layer of vegetable fiber or gelatin, and your body just chews right through it. So that is what the outer hull of capsules are made of. The next question is about pre-made protein shakes. What do I think about them? What are some good brands? What have I seen out there? So the simple answer is no. There's really not any good brands, and the reason is you have to add a preservative to that pre-made protein shake. And you guys can think about this like this. Have you ever made your own protein shake, put in your protein shaker, shaken it up, and then you leave that thing in your car for like a day or two? What does that thing smell like after 8 hours, a day? It smells absolutely horrible. This is because protein, when you mix it up with liquid, it's not meant to sit on shelves or sit anywhere for an extremely long amount of time. This is not how it works in nature. So these companies have to add a good amount of preservatives to those pre-made protein shakes. I've seen Orgain makes a grass-fed whey one, probably a halfway decent option, but in all honesty, I would just make your own protein shake. You're way better off. Why can't you get a blender bottle, put a scoop of protein in there, put your liquid, shake it up, or just blend it in the morning, pour it to go, and take it to go. It's gonna be a way better option for your health. Okay, the next question are, what are my thoughts on cologne? What does Brendan think about colognes? Colognes are absolutely garbage for your health. You're spraying your body with parabens, artificial fragrance, phthalates, other propellants, because they need that cologne to spray well out of there. It's not a good idea to spray this stuff on your skin every day. If you're gonna go to prom or some event and you wanna use it sometimes, sure, you're gonna be 100% fine. But people spraying this stuff on them every single day, it's going to absorb into your skin. Your skin is your body's largest organ, and we see a lot of issues with people's hormone systems, their whole endocrine system just kind of shutting down, and colognes are a reason for that. So you don't want to be inhaling artificial fragrances every single day, and you don't want to be spraying them onto your skin. So I'm not a fan of using cologne. All right, this is a question I get a lot. Tattoos. Are tattoos healthy? Or do they affect your health? And the honest answer is they are not necessarily good for you. There are studies that there can be some contaminants in tattooing, so that's one thing. That would be a short-term acute thing. So you would get a tattoo, your body would deal with those contaminants. I mean, it's not a good thing, but then your body would deal with that. You might have some liver inflammation or some other type of higher inflammatory, numbers for a little bit, and your body will deal with that. So that's definitely something to watch out for. The other thing is there are studies that tattoos affect sweat gland function. I don't think this is going to be a problem with someone like me who just has like a few small tattoos, but people that are really tatted up, there is evidence that it can affect sweat gland function. You see these people with these blackout tattoos, so you can look up those studies. Tattoos probably aren't the healthiest thing to do. I don't think I'm really going to get any more. Are they something that's going to ruin your health? No, not at all. You shouldn't worry about it if you have them already, but they're not necessarily good for you. So I think that's something I want to be honest about. Yeah, there's definitely some evidence that they might not be the healthiest thing. All right, guys, that's it for this week's AMA. I'll be back at you next week with another one, so leave your comments below and I will get to them. Ask whatever you want. You can ask about health, you can ask about a product, you can ask about personal life, whatever you want. I'm going to dive into everything and yeah, just kind of chop up some stuff with you. So let me know some comments below. As always, if you like this, subscribe, and I'll check in with you guys next week. Peace.